nice with it.
Out of all you fighters I see getting on, doing the mitt work or the pad work, whatever you want to call it, I see y'all doing all this, doing all this, doing all this.
After witnessing Jake Paul practice with Floyd Mayweather for the impending bout, Gervonta Davis is incensed. Boxing, according to Floyd, is about conditioning, discipline, and seeing who can hit the hardest. He highlights that real boxing is about pushing boundaries in training and seeing who survives, not only about movement. Tension is raised by this comment because Davis feels ignored. Floyd commends Jake Paul for his dedication to training and competing, but
I just like to push myself to be the best at whatever I do. It could be basketball, football. My dad introduced me to boxing in 1977, and I just took it to the next level. I love boxing, I love competing, and I love being the best. What's good with the fight camp so people can compete with one another, push each other, and it's fun. People want to see who hit the hardest, who's the fastest, who could throw the most punches, so it's a great product. It's about just competing and working hard, getting in shape, and enjoying yourself while you're doing it.
Paulie Malignaggi's viewpoint on Gervonta Tank Davis has historical roots. He underlines that there is no doubting Floyd Mayweather's impact on Tank's career, regardless of any personal issues or lingering hostility between the two. Malignaggi claims that Tank's technique was much improved by Mayweather, who also instilled discipline and provided him with the kind of foundation that sets exceptional fighters apart. The truth is that Tank's years under Floyd's tutelage molded him into the fighter he is today, even if he openly minimizes Floyd's significance or draws attention to their ongoing rivalry.
He's a flashy guy, and I actually like that win for Gervonta.
Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia, a lot of fluff again, because he's a YouTuber who's never accomplished anything else besides being a YouTuber. Though there is talent there, it's unfulfilled and untapped talent, and the loss to Rolly Romero tells you that. So what has Gervonta Davis created, aside from being a manufactured creation that got a big push from Floyd Mayweather? Let's be honest here. Big push from Floyd Mayweather. And then after that, let's match him very carefully. Because what do? We wanted to do the same thing with Adrian Broner, who had the balls to fight everybody. Say what you will about Adrian Broner. Had the balls to fight everybody. Didn't duck a single fight. And they said, you know what? We wanted to do this with Adrian Broner. We wanted to just manufacture a star before he was made into a star. And we kind of messed up by matching him too tough. So the pendulum swung in the complete opposite direction here. It's not like you balanced it out. You went in the complete opposite direction and made this guy fight absolutely nobody constantly. And let me tell you something about the Lamont Roach fight. He's a 16-1 underdog going into the fight because they knew they didn't want to fight anybody who was a risk. There's a reason he's ducking the Lamont Roach rematch now. Because now you realize, wow, this guy is a threat.
The argument over a possible fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis was directly addressed by Jeff Mayweather's remarks. The disparity in size. Jeff claims that Jake Paul is just significantly larger than Davis in terms of both physique and natural weight. Jeff emphasizes that the fight completely disregards the fact that boxing has always had weight classes for a purpose. Within his natural weight range, Davis has excelled in the lighter classes by using speed, timing, and explosive power. Conversely, Jake Paul has fought at cruiserweight on a regular basis, where competitors have entirely different physiques. Jeff contends that putting these two men in the same ring raises concerns about fairness in addition to endangering competition.
It's kind of weird, because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank. And I mean, but with it being exhibition, it makes sense. It's fine. He got a big name that he's going to be fighting. But I mean, it really makes no sense because he's going to be weighing over 200 and some pounds. Tank's going to probably be weighing maybe at the most 147, 150. So I don't even understand why the fight is happening.
Eddie Hearn, the promoter, had a similar feeling but went one step further. He maintained that there should be a clear distinction between boxing and entertainment, and that a bout between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis would dangerously erode that boundary. Hearn claims that the competition isn't competitive in the traditional sense of boxing. Rather, it is intended to be a commercial endeavor driven by social media hype and celebrity status. He cites the stark size difference as proof that this game isn't about putting players' abilities to the test on an even playing field. Rather, it is presented as a spectacle to draw in the general public. Hearn admitted that the battle would be very profitable, drawing attention from all around the world and bringing in a sizable sum of money. But as a lifelong supporter of true competitiveness, he considers it disturbing when bouts are scheduled more for financial gain than for athletic value. Nevertheless, Hearn acknowledged that the bout would be a profitable day for the promoter. Even if purists believe that the sporting standards are being compromised, it ensures headlines, ticket sales, and pay-per-view purchases.
Next year, and they always said that there was a chance that Jake would fight in November. I think, wasn't I the one that broke Jake Paul against Gervonta Davis 6 months ago or something? I know that I knew that they'd agree that deal. I didn't know they were about to announce it then, but I did know that they'd agreed that deal previously. So I don't like it, if I'm honest. I mean, I think we need to really differentiate between boxing and an entertainment concept, and that's what that is. It's a freak show, it's entertainment, it's a lightweight fighting a cruiserweight, you know, with, I don't know, is it bigger gloves and certain minutes per round, I don't know what it is, but, you know, I understand the market and I understand this freak show shock kind of the world mentality of people potentially tuning in. Is that a step too far? Maybe. I mean, I hated Jake Paul against Mike Tyson, but it did massive numbers. I hate Jake Paul against Gervonta Davis. It'll probably do massive numbers. So that's when you really have to differentiate yourself between, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it isn't going to do good business. Now, whether you want to be involved with it is another kettle of fish. I don't want to be involved with it, but I do respect the fact that it's going to do big numbers. It's just not boxing. And I don't think we should promote it as boxing.
In the meantime then, Eddie, where does that leave you with Anthony Joshua? Are you exploring other options for the end of this year, or are you still looking at that fight for the beginning?
Yeah, no, we're not interested in the Jake Paul fight right now. After that, I mean, like, you know, we're not going to wait around till November. Is it November or December, whenever it is, and see how he gets on. I mean, if he gets chinned by Gervonta Davis, we can't exactly make the Anthony Joshua fight.
Michael Bisping, a former UFC champion, brought a distinct viewpoint to the discussion by bringing up earlier demonstration bouts in which financial gain overshadowed skill. He believed that Jake Paul could easily defeat Gervonta Davis due to the weight advantage and the financial factors involved, rather than necessarily his greater skill. According to Bisping, sanctioned title fights and showcase fights are not subject to the same validity standards. Unexpected influences may have an impact on the outcome of a matchup when it becomes solely about entertainment and money. The looser regulations of an exhibition combined with Jake's bigger frame might tip the scales in his favor.
You know what? Fair play. If he does go out and fight Anthony Joshua, which I wouldn't advise because that would be extremely dangerous, then fair play if he was to do that. And all the critics and people like myself would have to shut the hell up, because I always said he's looking for fights that were manufactured, looking for fights that were predetermined. And by that, I don't mean fake fights. I don't mean fixed fights. I mean fights where the odds are so stacked in his favor that of course he's going to win. And of course, we see this. The latest match that's going to go down November 14th at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. Jake Paul is taking on, you've seen it by now, Gervonta Tank Davis. A man that is a lightweight in boxing. Now, lightweight in MMA is 155 pounds. Lightweight in boxing, 135 pounds. Jake Paul, I think when he weighed in for Mike Tyson, was 227 pounds.
Official weight, 227.2 pounds.
That is, if I'm not mistaken, a 92 pound weight difference. Almost a 100 pound weight difference. It's insane. Let's say he comes in at 200 pounds. It's still a 65 pound weight advantage, which is absolutely ridiculous. How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you? That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
The host of Wade concept characterized Jake Paul as a master manipulator, presenting him as someone who knows how to incite opponents and create opportunities. According to him, Jake successfully lured Gervonta Davis into this fight by showing off his wealth, generating hype, and transforming the fight into an alluring financial offer. In this framing, Davis is not so much pursuing legacy as he is responding to the lure of a huge payday. The host also highlighted that Jake's true talent lies outside the ring in marketing, promotion, and psychological manipulation. By using his platform and displaying his wealth, Jake coerced Davis into accepting a fight that might not make sense financially but does make sense competitively.
And again, Jake's only been boxing for 5, 6, 7 years now. It isn't necessarily far-fetched to try to have his own advantages when trying to fight other boxers that have been far more experienced than him. But this one's a little too much, right? This one is crazy because of the massive weight difference. It doesn't make a ton of sense. But again, as far as a sport fight is concerned, I want to make sure I make that clear. Again, this is not me hating on it, because I do think that both guys have been very upfront with what they're doing in this fight and what their goals are with these kind of events. But the narrative Jake's trying to create as if this is like proving anything for him fighting a real fighter when Gervonta is so much smaller than he is. It'll prove something in the fact that Jake is willing to put on great events, but it won't prove anything to the people that are asking him to fight a real fighter. I will say though, if Jake goes out and flatlines Gervonta, the casual audience that will say Gervonta smokes Jake completely and utterly, like it wouldn't even be close, that will change their minds a little bit. Not the people that know boxing, but the people that are going to watch this, the casual viewer that know the name Gervonta Davis and know the name Jake Paul. If he is to compete with Gervonta at all or look good in that fight, people will in some way accept that. Or they'll do the other thing where they just say the fight's rigged, which has never been the case, but you get what I'm saying. What Jake is doing is trying to convince a casual audience that he belongs in the ring with bigger names. If he's able to hurt Gervonta at all, that might actually do it.
The undefeated lightweight champion of the world.
With a record of 30-0, 28 knockouts.
And this one is over.
The brick
He's been
hand.
boxing since he was 5 years old and turned pro when he was 18.
Gervonta Davis at 22 becomes the youngest champion in boxing.
And guess what? Just like everybody,
Gervonta Davis's opponent, Ryan Garcia, was direct in his evaluation. He dismissed Jake Paul's move as a cheesy marketing gimmick and called it neither good nor clever. Garcia believed that money was the sole reason Davis agreed to the match. True fighters, according to Garcia, seek for history, legacy, and titles. He believes that accepting a fight against a significantly larger man compromises the integrity of competitiveness. Rather than striving for greatness against deserving rivals, Davis let a money incentive influence him. Garcia has a history of verbally sparring with Tank, so there was also a hint of rivalry in his critique. However, his remarks echo a prevalent criticism that this bout is more about demonstrating skill than it is about making money. Garcia believes that the action is disrespectful and calls into question the legitimacy of all those concerned.
News that last week shook up the boxing game, Jake Paul versus Tank, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, everyone's talking about it. It's a whole thing. A lot of people liked it, didn't like it.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you first saw that it was a thing?
It pissed me the fuck off, bro.
Yeah, why?
It's just disappointing on mainly Jake's end. You know, we're not falling for the Disney Channel bit no more. We're not falling for you're not a fighter no more. We're not falling for that. You know, you're ranked as a cruiserweight and you're out here trying to fight a lightweight. And then on top of it, you were just talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. That doesn't make no sense. And, you know, I just felt like it was a disgrace to boxing and kind of it was not a good move by Jake Paul. You know, I understand people saying, you know, Gervonta got to go get his money, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, like, we're not talking about that shit. We're talking about the sport, bro. We're not talking about, oh, you got to get that money, bro. Yeah, but everybody's open to criticism. That's the whole point of this media shit.
Right.
That's why they talk about basketball players. They don't talk about, well, LeBron's making too much. Like, nobody cares, bro. If LeBron's missing the shot, he's missing the fucking shot. So at the end of the day, bro, I just thought it was a disgrace to the sport. Because on one end, you know, you got the casuals, right? The casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. Yeah. And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're going to think Jake Paul is some pound-for-pound champion type of fighter. Yeah. And to me, that's just it's tricking the public, and it's kind of bullshit, bro, at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, if Gervonta was Jake Paul's size, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. There probably wouldn't even be a fight. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I just think that it's a disgrace to boxing.
Sean Porter, a former champion, pointed out a recurrent motif in Jake Paul's fighting career. Fighters take on his challenges in order to get paid, not out of respect. Porter claims that Jake has been successful in luring respectable opponents into the ring with the promise of financial gain. But even with his expanding resume, Jake hasn't gained the boxing community's true affection or respect. Porter clarified that while wealth might lead to opportunities, respect is gained via talent, accomplishments, and legacy. Because fighters view Jake as a profitable chance rather than a legitimate opponent, conventional boxing fans are unable to accept him. Jake continues to be divisive in the sport despite his evident influence as an entertainer. Porter sees the similar pattern in this bout, a well-known occasion funded by money rather than the kind of deference that characterizes illustrious professions.
I like when it's all said and done and when you guys go off, they go into the next man. So if y'all can make a big payday, go get that payday. The sport of boxing don't love you. That's the problem with this sport. It's like what Jake Paul did, man, it's crazy, but people getting paid off of it.
Yeah.
So if he can call any one of y'all out and y'all can get that payday, I say go get it, baby. I'm not mad at it.
For me, and I'm not mad at this move at all for Tank Davis, but I think when it comes to boxing fans, there's an essence that comes with this sport, and it's an essence that hasn't been lost, unlike other sports. For an example, with football, we come from the hitting days.
Yeah.
Can't hit nowadays, you know what I mean? So boxing hasn't lost its essence, you know. They're trying to make it safer and, you know, all those sorts of things, but there's still this pureness to boxing that really doesn't exist in sports anymore, but it's still there with boxing. I think that's why people have such a problem with this kind of move from Tank Davis.
Is it more the heart? How do you guys feel being boxers?
Man, like once you hear the numbers, I'm like they're talking like I don't know the official one. They're talking about like 100 mil.
Oh damn.
Like, they're talking about these insane numbers. Like I'm gonna be like, don't take that. I'm not gonna tell another man not to take that type of check. Especially for something like that, it's not on your official record, it's an exhibition. I'm not gonna lie here and act like I'm not gonna say yes to 100 million or something like that.
Teddy Atlas, a legendary trainer, concentrated on the match's technical elements. He admitted that compared to Jake Paul, Tank Davis is much more experienced and has fought a wider range of opponents. When compared to Jake's very short resume, Davis's professional experience, championship pedigree, and versatility inside the ring are unparalleled. Atlas did, however, also stress that weight is a significant consideration. Although skill may frequently close gaps, even expert fighters encounter difficulties when there is a significant size disparity. Because a naturally larger guy can deliver harder shots and take more punishment, the contest is dangerous by nature. While acknowledging Davis's skill set, Atlas issued a warning that a layer of hazard brought about by the weight difference must be disregarded. His remarks highlight the main source of tension in the game. When a top fighter enters an unbalanced physical battle where size and skill clash in unanticipated ways.
Right? Who's not a professional fighter, what happens? What happens? That's what would sell it. I know the size difference is what creates the problem. The optics, the look, the reality. I mean, you got one guy who's fights at 135 pounds, and you got another guy who fights at 200. I mean, just that alone, yeah. But you also, and I'm not saying I want this or I like this when I heard it. No, I didn't like it, to be honest, for the optics and everything else I just said. But you do have one guy who, yeah, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter, he can punch, and he's fighting a guy who's not a top pro fighter, who's bigger. What if he hits him on the chin? What if he hits him on the chin? It'll wind up selling. And that's what'll wind up selling it. The what if. What if Tank makes him do a cha-cha? He hits him on the chin, and Jake Paul, we're gonna find out if he can dance. Whoa, 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 whoa. You know, do the cha-cha. That's what's gonna sell it. And you can't argue that what if. You can't. I know I get to places that other people won't go and everything else. They just dismiss stuff because it's easier to do that. It's safer to do that. You don't have the bows and arrows coming at you from people that argue with you because you did that, but I don't care.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.